all, I think, 245 of you who have decided to spend this Saturday evening with me. I know we'd rather much be going out or hanging out with our friends and, basically having fun. So, my promise to you is I will try to make your Saturday evening as fun as you usually do. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here, excited to take you all through what I have planned for you today. And once again, thank you to your team, Ashi, and you for having me here today.
The pleasure is all ours, ma'am. So the session is all yours. I think you can start sharing your screen.
All right, thank you. Let me know once you can see it. Just a moment. Yeah, I think. I may have to rejoin. Give me one moment.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, hello. Let me quickly share my screen. I hope it's visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's get started. Let me just close my extra tabs. All right. So, Ashi did a wonderful job in introducing me and sharing all about me. I'll just take a second and not just give my introduction and basically just tell you why I do these sessions. So, I was also like one of you not very many years ago. And while I was in university, COVID hit and we had a very hard time. I'm sure you guys have heard this story over and over again. But what resonated with me is that such sessions were the ones that were the driving force, even though everywhere else, everyone was pretty much very disappointed. Be it education, be it health wise, we were all very, very worried, right? And we did not have access to our teachers, university, friends, none of that. So the reason I do these sessions, one is to obviously impart knowledge. Two is to motivate anyone out there who might be like me, that attending one of these sessions will spark that curiosity in you, and you will try to, go beyond your usual curriculum, learn more. And I'll be very, very honest, for an online event, this is an amazing turnout. I'm very, very happy. And I'm also a little bit proud of all of you that you decided to take this step. That although some of you might be encountering Excel for the first time or such sessions for the first time, yet you've shown the courage to come forward and learn, and that to so many of you. So pat yourselves on the back for that, for making it here. And from now on, my responsibility for the next 90 minutes that I have with you is to make sure you have fun, is to make sure you learn something, and is to make sure that your Saturday evening is well spent. Along with that, I would like to leave you more informed and more knowledgeable about not only Excel, anything in the world that you want to learn does not just come with one skill. It is a host of other skills that help you get to that point. So I will try to leave you off better than what I've found you as today. And one last thing I would like to say before we start off is that at any point, I don't really do like a quintessential Q&A in the end. At any point in between, you feel like, it's not making sense, I'm going too fast, please stop me. Please let me know. Ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. Ashi, if you could help me, even in between, if there are questions in the chat, feel free to pitch them to me. I'll do my best to answer all of them. And, don't just keep it limited to Excel. You can go into analytics, you can ask me career advice, anything you'd like. But yeah, we'll have the more body questions in the end, and try to stick to the questions that I have for the material I have with you for the session today. But yeah, I do plan on having just a pure interaction towards the end as well. So yeah, let's get started. So, the session that I am taking today is on Excel Essentials. And I know your entire event is known as Mastering Excel and Data Analytics. So, I will be handling the Excel Essentials part. So, like you, even I was like, hey, why do we need Excel? Excel is so boring. Excel is so old. We have Python, we have SQL. Why even, waste time on this during university? No one's going to ask you. Well, sorry to pop your bubble, but Excel is the one thing that, you need it everywhere. No matter if you go to a startup, you go to a big bank, you go to a software company, at some point or the other, you will be using Excel. And because of this skill on, Ashi, is it possible to turn off annotation? I think someone by mistake did that.
Yeah, ma'am, just a minute.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much. Yeah. So as I was saying, you do need it no matter whichever agency you go into, whether it be, banking, software, or even like a simple teaching job also, you need Excel. Not just to teach other people, but to do things for yourself. So let's go into the next slide, which is the agenda for today. So for today, I have planned a mix of hands-on and a bit of theory. Please bear with me. I know none of us like that, especially during online sessions. But yeah, I will try to keep it brief and we'll do more of hands-on and you can do it with me. And at the end, I have a small quiz plan for you, as well as a case study that you will get to work on in the next week, I believe. So my contribution would be to explain the case study to you, what is asked of you, what does the data look like, and what are you supposed to do with it. Okay, makes sense. Can I would like love to see any reactions, if any, if you guys want to use the reaction button as well. That would be super nice. So first things first, we will talk about the power of data. And by power, I don't mean how strong it is or how, as the meme that you can see that says that what gives people feeling of power, money, status, knowing Excel. So it's not about that. We will basically see why Excel matters. So I did mention briefly that any company you go to or any profession you opt for, you will be using Excel. I'll deep dive into that. And I'm sure all of you are now up to speed with how data science and data analytics is making such a difference in the world. We all use ChatGPT every other day, use it for our assignments. I have to. So Um, so yeah, see, these things have stemmed from basic things only. So most of the time when we start to learn something advanced, we forget the basics. And Excel, although seems very daunting to some people, it is the basic and it is the basic that helps you basically visualize data easily. So I know, again, we have several libraries in Python. We have all these new tools that can do the visualization for us. But at the same time, uh, seeing how raw data looks like, that is extremely important. So let me just see if I can turn off this from my end, or at least clear this beautiful red line that I have received. Yeah, perfect. So let's go into the next slide, which is the power of data. So I'm sure you all have heard of big terms like how profit and customer retention and growth rate and how fast is the business going. I'm sure all the Shark Tank lovers out there, you also know all the fancy terms that they use, what is cost per unit and all of that. So how do we calculate that? Basically calculate that on sales data, right? And how does the sales data come into picture? You are a retailer, you sell things, you have data of what you sell. So a salesperson again is not fit to analyze the data and say project their growth, how much inventory do they need. These kind of things is not something that a salesperson or even a business person can do. That is where the need for an analyst or a data scientist comes in, because they have the familiarity of both how to calculate it, use the tools, as well as a little bit of business knowledge. So that brings me back to where I started, that no matter which business you go to, which work stream you go to, the analytics point of view that you will develop now, especially in university or even in your own time through your college curriculum or extracurriculars, is what will set you apart from other people. So not only will you have understanding of things, but you will also know how to forecast things, how to, calculate things, get statistics to identify what can we do, what is the better option, which product is selling better. So if I have to give you an example of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I work at a bank. So a bank has several thousand customers, especially a bigger bank like HSBC. They have customers all over the world. Any country you can think of, they'll probably have a customer and an office there. So what do we as analytics people do here? Of course, I can't go into the nitty-gritties of it, but in general, there are a lot of things that we can do with the data of a bank. We can identify more high paying customers. We can see how our RMs are performing. We can see what will supposedly happen based on the economics data. So, and even figure out financial crime, risk, these kind of parameters. So, that is one example. And my previous organization before HSBC was a startup. And over there was a business consulting startup. And even there, they had retailer data. So they used to deal with companies like Newell. Newell had several lines of products underneath them. And just having the products is not enough, right? We need the knowledge of what the customer likes, whether the how to increase the share of wallet of a customer. So that was also something that I came across for the first time. You guys can look it up after this session. So these kind of parameters come from the raw data only. So only if you understand the raw data, you can do these analytics. And once you have crossed the bridge of understanding the data and going into that segment that where you can do this analysis independently, that is where you have set yourself apart from the rest of the crowd, and that is where you have harnessed the power of data. That is simply what I mean by that. So you are able to connect the dots in your head on paper in your analysis, and then that analysis is worthy of being presented. And let me be very clear, these analyses are the basis of very, very big decisions in several organizations. So no one at this date, they don't take decisions without consulting their data analysts, data scientists, and whatever, these big, big meetings that we all think that all these business managers and CEOs have. These are all about the data that analysts like you and me in the future, we come up with that and we tell a story through that data. We do the calculations, we use the correct tools, we do the visualizations, and that is how big decisions are taken at big organizations. So just to summarize my slide here, what you can see, turn raw data into insights, do the key and basically identify the key business metrics, make it into such a way that you have reveals the patterns and the trends in the data, do some calculations on it, use the several statistical measures that we have out there, and finally enable the organization to make data driven decisions. Because a company that does not take data driven decisions, they'll be really, really far behind in the race, and they will obviously grow at a very slower rate compared to someone that is harnessing the power of data. So that is why we do this entire exercise of learning skills like Excel, Python, SQL. So this session is mostly focused on Excel and SQL. And I was really, really happy to know that Excel has been, taken up instead of more fancy things like Gen AI and how to create your own chat GPT, because this is where it all starts. And I know most of us, even including me, I was not a big fan of Excel, but now I have been a complete convert. I would rather prefer to do my elementary analysis first in Excel, and then I put my data through Python or SQL or whatever is the relevant tool. So let's hop on to the next thing. So what I have done is basically broken down the session into three main parts, which is the data cleaning, okay, data cleaning essentials, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and pivot tables. So for this session, this is the scope. But at the same time, I'll try to help you know more about Excel, about its capabilities, so that you can expand beyond these basics. But yeah, since this is like a college level beginner friendly session, so these are still tools that we feel like, oh my God, how do I do it? So hey, I'm here to answer your all your how am I gonna do it? So let me start with the data cleaning essentials. So just before we proceed, are there any questions for me in the chat, Ashi? Let me just quickly
Yes, ma'am.
see.
Vansh Goyal is asking, as a data analyst, how much Power
Mhm.
BI do you use and in which way?
So, one shall be very honest. It depends from organization to organization. Now, If you are someone who wants to do visualization based analysis, then there are tools like Power BI, there are tools like Excel, there are tools like Tableau. So again, it is an organization's choice to, choose which tool to use. So what my recommendation usually is, and what I did for my journey as well, is that you pick a tool, you learn it inside out, learn it really well. Most of the times, those skills are very much transferable. So, for example, if you know Power BI really well, you will be very, very comfortable at Tableau. All you will have, say, 1 day of learning arc. You'll have to do the learning curve yourself, and then once you are there, you'll find it's mostly similar. And the analytics quotient that you will develop learning any one of them, that will obviously stay with you no matter what the syntax is, no matter what the tool is. So directly again, no analyst starts visualizing data directly in Power BI. First, there is pre-processing done, there is cleaning done. That is the concept at hand that we have right now. So that can be again done in a lot of different tools. It can be done in say Excel. It can be done in Python. So that is again the analyst choice, whatever they're comfortable with. But yeah, or whatever the situation calls for. So that is where the bridge between the pre-processing and the visualization comes in. I hope I was able to answer your question. Any other?
There are a lot of questions asking how to become a business analyst, or whether for business analyst, do we need
Mm-hmm.
MySQL, do we need Python, and what kind of
Again,
projects we can do for that.
mm-hmm. Right, right. So see, there is a very thin line between data analyst and business analyst. Now, I my last role was as a business analyst, and that required a sufficient amount of business understanding. But what will help you identify which role is good for you or not is that how comfortable are you with business concepts? Do you really understand them? Do you really feel like, the storytelling part is somewhere that you're passionate about? So if you feel like, yeah, if a business problem is thrown at you and you look through it and you're like, okay, I understand what is happening, and I also have the skill to do the analysis for it, so then of course you're a great fit for being a business analyst. A data analyst is pretty similar, but not that level of business understanding is expected from them. But the technical expertise is obviously more when you become a data analyst, because there is only the analytics side of it, whereas as a business analyst there's a mix of both. So you will have to excel at both these divisions to actually succeed at your role. So that is the difference. And like I said, projects that you can do, to be honest, at your level in university, approach any project that you make, both with a business and an analytics point of view. So for example, if you're making something like doing HR analytics, so you have a lot of data of candidates, and suppose you're an HR and you're supposed to take decisions about it or look through the data, identify trends, what kind of students are applying for the job. Again, there is a business angle, right? That what is the requirement of the company, what kind of people are applying for the job opening, and where can I merge these two? So that is where you can use your business understanding there and then build a sufficient solution. Because if you don't put in that thought, if you don't put in that trail of thought that why am I doing this, then your data analysis is waste, because you'll just churn out numbers, and then what do people do with those numbers? There has to be an insight with the number, there has to be a story with that number. So for example, if you calculate, say, profits of a company, the profit should either increase over last year or decrease over last year. Then you have a story to tell, yeah, this is the profit for this year, and we have gone down or we have gone up compared to last year. So approach all your projects like that. And it is again not about how complex the project is in interviews. It is essential that whatever project you have on your CV, you should be able to explain it inside out. You should not have any gaps in understanding. Whatever tool you have used, whatever, even a single line of code you've written, you should be familiar with it. It should not be, just chat GPT or from a GitHub repo. That would be my advice for doing projects. Do less, but do meaningful ones. Any other questions?
Yeah, that would be it. I think we can have a proper Q&A towards the end, towards
Yes,
all
yes,
this
sure,
career
sure.
related questions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. So data cleaning, I'm sure you guys are aware of these things. Even if you're not, I'll just quickly take you through it. And then we'll quickly jump onto an Excel sheet and try to do these data cleanings ourselves. So basically, we do remove duplicates. So of course, any data that is duplicated or it has, null values, NA values, that is of no use to us. We need comprehensively complete rows. So not all of the time when you're working, it will be that way. You will have to come up with innovative solutions of how to clean your data. So there will be data rows that will have some information but not the other. But you'll have to make that conscious call of, can I remove this data? Should I keep it? I keep it, but at what capacity? Right? Trimming express is just a simple example. Standardizing text formats. So a lot of people, you might guys have noticed that when you create a Google form, and a lot of people enter data. Someone will do it in lowercase, someone will do it in uppercase, someone will do it in short forms. So then your data is not harmonically clean. It is, very, very varied. And when you put, say, filters on these kind of data, so the basic example that I have here is New York, NY, and small NY. So these will come as three separate categories instead of one category, which is New York. So that kind of sense checking and cleaning has to be done by the analyst himself. Handling missing data, we have already covered, and separating and merging columns. So a lot of the time, your data might not have any unique identifier. So that is one thing I think we've all learned in DBMS as well, that we need a primary key for our data, no matter how small the data is, no matter how big the data is. So sometimes when you don't have that primary key existing in your data, you can always create one. So that is where separating, merging columns, deleting data, that is what comes into picture then. So let me quickly take you through a quick example here that I have prepared for this session. We'll check out all the other ones as well. But let's start with the data cleaning one. This should be the simplest one that I can walk you through. So this is just a basic dummy data of transaction ID. So like I said, primary key should always be there. We have a transaction ID, which is unique for all the users. Next, we have customer name, product regions, date, so on and so forth. So this is our COGS that we basically evaluate cost of goods sold, profit, quantity sold. Now, first things first we have to do is check for any duplicates. So unlike Python in Excel, even I didn't know it's this simple. So you do this, you select all the data that is there, you go to data, and you click on remove duplicates. And this will ask you which columns to consider. And you click on OK, and it says no duplicate data found. So in case if there were any duplicate data, it would automatically delete them for you. So let's try this by adding a duplicate, and then we will, try to remove it and see how does that operation work. So again, we select the whole data, say, let's go back up. We will only select the data table that we have. And now let's click on remove duplicates. So we had one duplicates and 35 are remaining. It has automatically cleaned that up for you. Next, if you notice things like that I mentioned, that there are two S's here, and there are small case, uppercase issues here. So what do we do in these kind of cases? So there's a very big list of Excel functions that we can use for this. So I'll share that with you maybe towards the end of the session or with the learning material. You can go through them. But even if you just explore and play around in Excel, you get like a massive list. You can even go into ChatGPT, ask it like, suggest some of the best data cleaning functions for me. It will give you a very, very nice and comprehensive list. So what I am trying here to do first is that we have customer names, and like we saw, the cases are an issue. So when we say would like to do a visualization or something, it will not look very pretty. And even if the person is of same name, it will come as two names, just like the New York example. So what will we do? We'll use the proper function. Proper is nothing but it will make everything into proper case. So we select the entire thing. So this is how you can select the entire row. You can even type this formula, or you can just automatically select it in Excel and click enter. So now you can see all the issues that were there. Let's take an example, say Alice Johnson. This has been fixed over here. So we'll probably, call this as proper customer name instead of just the customer name, since we cannot have duplicate columns. So we call it proper customer name. So in our analysis now, we would instead use this column instead of this column. Now, as I mentioned, that if we, for example, did not have transaction ID, so what would we do? How would we, create a unique column, unique identifier? So what, let's call this column as product ID. We don't have a product ID. Yes, we don't. So what we can do is in this case is use the concatenate function. So concatenate, as the name suggests, it will just merge two columns or two data types that we give it. So we will do this. We want the name of the person and the product they have purchased. So let's put a dash in between and select the item that we have. And we click on enter. So as you can see, now we have a unique uh, thing called Alice Johnson t-shirt, and we drag it down. So now we have a new column that is basically of a unique identifier. But again, like I mentioned, we will be using proper case for now, and I use the other one. So you can see there is a mismatch. So let's do a quick thing. We will fix this really quick. Instead of B2, we will make it J2. So what will happen is it will refer to the proper customer name instead of that. And we click on enter, and we do the same thing, that is dragging it down. So what this does is basically autofill the entire data. Now, one more tip I would like to give you that most of us didn't, avoid or overlook is that once applying formulas, it is always a good practice to select the whole thing and then paste it as values. Because if you don't paste it as values, all you will get is your, just a moment, all you will get is your the formulas instead of the names, right? And we don't want that. So what will we do is we will select the entire thing, copy it, and if you just right click and go to paste special, you have our option called paste as values. So now all the formulas are gone and we just have the correct names. Similarly, advisable to do on the other columns as well. One thing that I would like to show you, one more thing is that we've done remove duplicates and we've done all of that. Now, say if you want to calculate sales, simple example. So what will we do? We have a column sales, very direct. We use the sum function. So I know these functions will seem very elementary right now, but the trick here is to understand which column to apply it to. That is where the input of the analyst or a data scientist comes in. Ki use kahan karna hai? Where do we use it? So now, for example, we did a sum of this, and now if we check, the sum of this is 1250, as you can see over here, and that is there. So similarly, then you can calculate, say, COGS for it, and then deduct it basically from sales and COGS, and that will be your total profit. So on and so forth. Won't spend more time on this, but would highly recommend spending lots of time exploring these, data cleaning functions and, case related functions. There's a function called trim to remove extra spaces. There are functions like, concatenate is one of them. Sum is there, product is there. So if you just, go like this and say, type this, there's some standard deviation, there's sum if, there's a lot of stuff in Excel that we are, usually not taught or we don't really explore by ourselves. So if you remember, I mentioned in the beginning of the session that I have also become someone that now uses Excel first before taking her analysis into Python and all of that, is because, there are simple functions like you saw standard deviation, we can calculate mean, we can calculate correlations, all of that can be done instantly almost in Excel. Just choose the two values, do it. Even regression lines can be plotted very, very easily in Excel. There is a little beyond the scope of our session, so I haven't really got any material for you guys for that. We'll need a specific data set to, do those kind of operations. But what I'm trying to say is that I want you all to get excited about Excel, because before you do all that high level stuff, most of you will be studying, I think, data analysis at some level in electives or things like that. That, we already start at something as difficult as trying to do it in R, Python, Excel, R and Python and SQL instead of Excel. My bad. So in Excel, these things are just, as simple as, writing Corel, and you give your array one and array two. So let's try if there's any correlation between the sales and the goods profits. So we do this and say profit. So, this will just easily give you a correlation coefficient just like that we manually calculate or we do it in Excel. So it's almost at the 77% if you see. So there is a correlation between the sales and the profit. That is what we can infer, right? And if you guys remember, there's like an entire table we follow that if it's between this range, it's good. If it's below this, it's bad. So, these kind of elementary things you can just do like at the snap of a finger in Excel. And then you can, plot your lines. Like I said, you can do the plotting here as well, but I know in Python these things are far more efficient. But yeah, even the small things, these can, help you get started just by looking at the data. You can do a play around roughly, do some, analysis really quick, and then move on to, more sophisticated tools. So that is that. And yeah, let's not forget that before these sophisticated tools existed, all the smart people before us, they only had Excel. They only had, these kind of very, very elementary tools using which they've created all these beautiful advanced things that we use today. So, all right. Moving on to VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. So now, just a show of reactions or, just in the chat, how many of you are actually familiar with VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and why do we use them? Just a quick yes, no. That'll be meaningful. No, yes, okay, no, okay, all right. So mixed reactions from what I can see. All right, cool. Happy to see you guys interacting. Thank you for that. All right. So for the yeses, good job. You're already a little ahead, which is great. But again, as I keep emphasizing again and again, is that you have to know where to apply it. You can't just, randomly be like, yeah, I'm going to use it just because I know VLOOKUP. No, that's not how we do things here. And same for HLOOKUP. So as the name suggests, V and H, V means vertical lookup and H means horizontal lookup. So a vertical lookup is just as simple as, looking at a menu at a restaurant. So what we do is we generally go down the list that, okay, what are the starters, what are the main courses, what are the soups, right? But HLOOKUP, the simplest example that I can give you is, I don't know how many of you are young enough to have that, but we used to have our timetable schedules in school that were like horizontally written, like days and the subjects and the periods, right? So what we used to usually do is, okay, it's Monday and it's fifth period. Which class do I have? So that is essentially where you have been using HLOOKUP in your life. Even, looking at a calendar, so to speak, is an HLOOKUP only because our calendars are all horizontally placed, horizontally organized. Now, most often you will be using VLOOKUP mode because the way we store data is mostly in column forms first. Very rarely you will come across a lot of horizontally arranged data, but you will come across them when there are, schedules, there are calendars, there are, maybe subsets of data sets which are organized in that way. You can again, obviously, any day just transpose them and then use a VLOOKUP. But why go through all that trouble when you have HLOOKUP available, right? So a small table that you can see here is when to use which one. So find product price, that can be like the example I gave that if you have to, choose your dish in a menu, you will go down it one by one, see what's available, what's the price, place an order. So obviously use a VLOOKUP there and looking through your exam timetable, looking through your, report cards, your semester marks cards. That is simple as HLOOKUP. We go by subject, we go by, semester, identify that one thing. So again, I have prepared a small exercise to do with me. Just even looking at, the problem and how the data is arranged and what am I doing, that will give you an idea about where you can implement it when you're working by yourself. So let's go back. Let me minimize my screen and go back to the Excel. Let me quickly check if there are any more. Okay, good, good. All right. Yeah. So let's hop on to first the VLOOKUP sheet and let's try to see what exactly does it look like, what exactly does it do. I hope my screen, the text on my screen is visible enough, or should I zoom in a little more?
That's fine.
It's fine? Okay, all right. Let's get going then. So, like I said, looking down a column is very, very similar to looking for your favorite dish on a menu. Syntax is a little complex, but don't get, intimidated by that. It's VLOOKUP, the name of the function. Then first parameter is our lookup value. Then the array in which it has to search for the value arrays, and an array is nothing but a collection of data organized in rows and columns, very simply speaking. And then we have something called the column index. Since we're searching in a column, we supply the column index number, which column should it refer to give us our value back. And then finally, the range lookup is nothing but whether you want a complete match or a partial match. So it can have actually true values, which is true and false. So for false we do 0, and for true we do 1. Let me just fix that. Yeah. So now let's take a look at this data that I have here. So this is basically a show time of a movie theater. Okay, we have movie names, theater number, screens, and the show time. So the question is, which theater is playing Spider-Man No Way Home right now? So this one's already solved for you, just to explain, and what are we doing here. So what the function here is essentially doing, taking an expression which is Spider-Man No Way Home. We are specifying the array, which is this complete table, and then we are telling for it to look for the screen number, since theater screen is column 2. So 1213. It's telling it to look into column 2, and false means we want an exact match. So exact match is simply to speak that if it says yes, give me yes. And a approximate match can be that if, for example, my name is Jasleen and the column says just, it will give me an approx match. Very simply speaking. So most of the time we are looking for exact matches only, because our data has to be accurate, right? So now, how about you guys give me one movie? I know there's a lot of you. So I'll probably pick the first one that is dropped in the chat, that we'll try to find the show time for that particular movie. Quickly, the first reply that comes in, I'll use that. Batman. Okay. All right. Let's go with Batman. There's no Interstellar, yaar. देखो तो सही screen में. There's no 388 also in the data. It has to exist in the data for us to do VLOOKUP, right? All right. I'll go with Batman then. So simply, let's try to write the VLOOKUP from scratch. So first we do VLOOKUP. First is our lookup value, which is Batman. We selected that, put a comma. We selected the entire array that we have, which is this, starting from A7 to C11. Put a comma again. Now I said I want to find the show time of Batman. So we will put the column number as 3 instead of 2 this time, because we want to see the show time. And we want a true full match, not an approx match. So we select false. And this is giving a decimal value, because we have time here and it is not typecasting it properly. So let me just do a formatting thing here, and it is giving us 6 p.m. Right? Similarly, let's try the next example. This is basically a price list of a supermarket, very simple stuff. We have products, we have prices, we have stock available. So the demo question here is, how much does mango cost? We found it out, it's $3. Now, again, in the chat, whichever product we want to find, say the availability of stock. Would like to see Apple. Okay. For the ones who are saying they're not able to understand the last one, I'll help you know why are we doing this, how to use index and match in place of column number. That is again a little beyond the scope of our session. Let me just finish up everything. I'll come back to that maybe once we have some time. We also have to cover pivot tables as well. Yes, I can share the data sets with you guys. I can share this entire exercise with you. You can, work on it yourselves and figure it out. So let's do the stock for apples right now. Again, I'll go a little slow this time. We do VLOOKUP. First is our lookup value, which is our apple. So we click on that, put a comma. Same as before, our table of array is the data available. So we select all of that, click on comma again. Now the column index number. So by column index number, we mean which column do you want the data from. So we put a 3, since again stock available is in 3, and we type 0 because we want a full match. We click on this. So is there any questions? Okay, I see Akshit, your mic is on. If you could quickly mute yourself, we'll discuss if you have questions towards the end. Okay. So the stock for Apple came out as 50 kg. So you must be thinking this is so simple. We can just look at the data and tell. But the thing is, your data in your work life and when you're actually a working professional, it will not be this simple. I'm sure you all are aware of that. It will be very, very, huge, dirty, complex. So in those cases, if you just want one data point and you want to, quickly put it in your deck for the night and log off, then you use something called VLOOKUP. You look up for that one thing, you get your answer, put it in your deck, and you can, then go home, enjoy your weekend. So data will not look this clean and this simple when you're working, is the point I'm trying to make. So last thing, let's try, say, finding the employee ID of any of them. Again, one name in the chat. I can go ahead and do that. Okay. The first one was Bob. So let's go with Bob. So same thing as before, we type equal to in the formula bar. We type VLOOKUP. We use Bob as our lookup value. We select the entire column. That is our array that is basically consisting of all the data we have. Employee ID, if we count the number of columns, there are 4, so it should be ideally 2. And we need a full match, exact match. So we put 0 and we click enter. So we get the employee ID of Bob, which is E002. So this was basically all about VLOOKUP. Now let's quickly look into HLOOKUP. Similar exercise for the same, but this time we have to look horizontally. We don't have to look vertically. So this time the data is spread in the form of rows instead of columns. So what I have created here for you guys is a very fun schedule of watching favorite shows on Netflix and Hotstar and whatever you like. So these were my current favorites a little while back, so I've put them here. So if you have, say, 5 days a week and you're only allowed to watch one episode of one show, which show will you watch? So the data is arranged in the row format, and there are your shows that you like. So, this can be something like it can be day slash shows, because shows are vertically arranged and the days are horizontally arranged. And here the problem that we have solved is which episode would you of Stranger Things would you watch on Wednesday? So again, I know Wednesday is the name of one other show we have, but we are trying to find which episode would they watch of Stranger Things on a Wednesday. So it came out as season 1, episode 3. Now, help me pick another show in the chat, and we'll try to do for Friday maybe. Which one are we watching? Loki. Okay, everyone really likes Loki here, I think. Yeah, it's a nice show. Very interesting ending of the last season, I must say. So yeah, we do again. This time we're doing HLOOKUP. So we type HLOOKUP. And similar syntax, if you guys can take a look at the syntax here, lookup value, table array, row index number, and the true match or a false match. So now if I quickly show you what we have done here is, before going into that, is that the show that was in our context was in the second row, correct? So we want to find out lookup value is the day. It is not anymore the column value that we usually get. It is actually the day, which is one of these values. So on Friday, what episode am I watching of, say, Loki, if I have to find out? So let's see how we will do that. So let's start typing our formula as lookup, and we do, say, Friday. Select the entire thing. So since this is the fourth row, let's type 4 and type 0. So we get season 1, episode 5 of Loki. Now, again, we don't know which show are we watching, so we want to also find that out. We can try to okay, on Friday, if you want to see, say, which show we're watching, that is a little difficult to do in HLOOKUP because, again, this is a one row of data. It is not considering it as individual cells, right? So that is where we also use something called XLOOKUPs. XLOOKUP can do both column and, row-wise searching. So I don't have it ready with me, but let me quickly pull up a explanation of XLOOKUP maybe through an image. All right, let me just open this image in another tab. I hope it's visible. Let me just quickly zoom in. Yeah, so XLOOKUP here, as you can see, it's calculating the tax rate for the income. So income is something that you will calculate. So what it is doing is it is also checking whether it falls in that particular bracket and then whether it's greater or lesser than that, and also checking, what is the tax rate of the same. So that is why we have these different lookups, but just a fair warning, a lot of X lookups don't work with certain versions of Excel. So I think it might mention here where is the one that we get. Hold on. Yeah, not available in 2016 and 2019. So going forward, we have those in that, in the future versions basically. So basically the syntax is lookup value, return array. If not found, what to do and what to search. So that is one food for thought. You guys can look up X lookup by yourselves after this session probably. And maybe use this similar data and try to do your, own calculations, basically what to get using X lookup. So second example we have of an exam schedule and name of the teacher and the subject. So if we want to say calculate for geography, who is the teacher? So let's try to do that. HLOOKUP, same thing. We do geography, which is our lookup value. We specify our entire array and then count the number of rows. It's the third row of the data and do a 0. So we get Mrs. B is the geography teacher. So HLOOKUP, like I mentioned, you will not get a lot of cases where it will be easy to apply HLOOKUPs. VLOOKUPs is more common, and XLOOKUP, since it's a combination of both, you can say that is more widely used, and that is something I think I would like to leave as a food for thought that you guys should explore, look into it. And yeah, if there are any concerns, questions, I think Ashi will be happy to send them across to me, and we can take those up. Now let's quickly go back to the deck in the essence of time. We have one important thing again to cover, and after that we'll basically break away for a small quiz. I hope you all will participate and will enjoy it. I know as a student myself, I never had the mental capacity to go through 90 minutes lecture, so I will try not to do that to you guys. So essentially, this is the last concept that I will be covering in this session, and it's called pivot tables. I know all of us have heard about it, all of us have seen them, but most of us don't know how to use them. Again, I was same when I was in college. It took me a while to get used to it, and I know I keep reiterating, but again, the concept here that will help you the most is not what a pivot table is, but how to use it, how to visualize that data. What does the data look like for you? And what are you trying to understand from that data? Right? So maybe a quick poll of how many people have used pivot table before? No, yes, all right, no, all right. So again, it's a mix. So even for those who have used it at some point, I will try to, get you thinking along the lines of how should we use it and what is the correct scenario to use it, because that I feel is something we all sometimes miss out in the race of learning new skills and trying to become a master at it. So the deck again is for your reference. You guys can look into it again when you have some time, right? But these are the quick steps of what we do, and these are some tips that I've added for you, which is basically how to use slicers, how to summarize smartly, and how to refresh the data. So refreshing is again one more thing that most people forget to do. So one funny scenario that I can tell you is that happened with me is that I was working on something and I refreshed all the data tables and did everything, and I'm still not sure why the data is not updated for the current month. Kept looking, could not figure out for the life of me why it was not refreshing, and why are the numbers not reflecting. Went to my senior, and all he did was right click and refresh the pivot, and my hours and hours of agony that why is it not updating was actually something very funny. In that moment, it was not funny because I did waste a lot of time on it. But yeah, it was as simple as just refreshing it. So that is something that I've made sure to add in the pro tips for you guys. That no matter what you do, you paste new data in any pivot, you have to refresh it as a rule. If you don't refresh it, you will not see the newer view that you would like to be seeing at the moment. So let me just put this up here. Yeah, let's go to pivot tables. So right now I have a sample data again ready and a sample pivot table as well. So what we will try to do is create a pivot right now by ourselves. So this is basically a DJ song request data. So I'm a big Taylor Swift fan and I recently saw her live this year for my birthday. So that is why you'll see a lot of Taylor Swift songs in the data set that we have here. And though, so the data is basically looks pretty simple, right? Request ID, song names, artist, genre, month, and requests. This is number of time it has been requested. So what the pivot here is telling you that artist is Adele, which months was she, requested a lot, and how many times was she requested. So the sum here is coming to say, I think 7. So now let's do a quick analysis, just a very manual thing. Let's put filters here and see, is it true? So let's filter for Adele, okay? And these are the months. Okay, the pivot also refreshed because we refreshed, so we filtered basically. So just a general rule, this will happen, so don't get scared. And let's take a sum of this, and this is 7. Again, to reiterate, this was comparatively simpler to do since the data set is very small. But when we have a massive data set, this kind of summarization is not easy to do, right? Now, let's just remove the filters for now and let's try to create a fresh pivot. So, what I will try to do is that we will try to see which song names are requested, say, the most in a particular month. Okay, so easy. It's very simple. It's just 3 clicks. Although, just thinking about it is a little daunting about how will we create it. So you select the data, you go to insert, and you do pivot table. So now this will give you two options. So since I already have a table created here, it is taking table one. And here again, you get two options, new worksheet, existing worksheet. So this pivot that you can see here was in the same one. Let's try to create it in a new worksheet. So you click on OK, and the blank pivot is ready for you here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is what, okay, this is what it will look like initially. Now, what did we want to analyze? We wanted to check whether a particular song, so basically a particular song, how many times was it requested in a particular month. So over here, you will see 4 boxes. So since a pivot table, to be very, very simply put, is a summarization tool. So we have values such as columns, rows, filters, and values. So columns is what columns do you like? Would you like to have in your summary? Rows is again what rows would you like to have? Values is something, what value do you want to see? Right? So we want to see the count of songs that it has been requested. And filters is if you wish to put any filters and play around with the data, whether you just want to see for a particular month or you just want to see for a particular artist, that is where filters would come in. Right? Simple enough. So now let's try to add rows and columns. So for columns, let's put song names. So here song names look like this. So it has arranged itself into a column, but we don't want to look at it like this, right? We want it in a vertical fashion. So let's pull them back to rows. So these are all the songs that are there in our data set. Now We want to see which month, which song was requested, how many times. So let's take the month and put it in columns. So these are the columns that it can generate right now. And let's go down, and there is the requests column here. If you can just refer to the date, how many times is it requested. So if we go back here, let's take the requests column and put it as values. So now it is the basically calculating the sum of requests. Here you can see that there is something called count, there is average, there's max min, product, standard deviation, etc. So you can always change your value to look a certain way. You can show it as a percentage, you can show it as, difference, you can show it as percentage of grand total. So all this again depends on you as an analyst or a scientist, that what is the story you want to tell, whether you want to show what percentage of a particular song was, requested over month, or you want to calculate a running total, or you want a row total or a row percentage. So these are again things you will learn not only just through theory, basically based on the demand that is asked for you, that I want to see the data in so and so field. Or sometimes, for example, this is request data, and if I say do percentage row total, it might be very less because our data set is very less. So that is obviously not telling a good story, that 0.2% or 0.1% of the total or 2% of the total. That is not very, nice to look at, not very impactful either. So in that case, say instead of sum, let's do count. Count is nothing but it will count the number of occurrences. So if we click OK, now what you can see is it was referred once in Jan, it was requested once in Jan and once in March. Similarly, for levitating, it's like Feb and April. Love story, it's been requested twice, once in Feb, once in March. Rolling in the deep again twice. And then there is month sum here that you can see of the songs, all the songs requested in January. And then there is a grand total here that will show you what is the total of the particular song requested over 4 months. Now let's go back to see, let's try sum and see what does it show us. So it's showing us twice in January, thrice in March. Now if we go back to our pivot and let's put a filter on this, just to manually correlate basically what we are trying to do. And let's filter on only blinding lights. So the sum is basically aggregating all of it and telling us. And here again, ignore this pivot because we filtered it and it went away. So the sum is basically whatever times it occurred, right? Whereas a count will basically give you unique values. So for sum, we'll go with sum for now because that is what we wanted to see, right? We wanted to see whether a particular song, which one is the one that was most requested. So if you can see here, we have Shake It Off at 8, we can have Love Story at 6, and then so on and so forth. So we can even, take a copy of this column, sort it numerically. Let's try to do that. Let's create a small data just from what we have created. My bad, sorry. Let me go back. Let's open another sheet. Yeah. So let's take the song names, copy it and paste it here. 1 second. Yeah. Paste it. Let's try to do it in a new sheet. Sometimes Excel does cause you issues. So that is something you will have to be prepared for. And that is why most people have, migrated to better tools because of this unpredictability of Excel. But I cannot emphasize enough that it is a very good place to start when you are, just exploring new data, learning to understand data. Copy from here, go back here, paste it here, right? And now let's add another row here and maybe, drop a header for it. Let's call that song name and maybe request. Okay. And let's now try to sort it. So easiest way is just select all of that. Just drag it down, click on sort and sort, do a custom sort. So custom sort, what it will do is it will filter it based on whatever custom parameters you want to tell it. So let's do requests. We want to sort the values and we want to sort it from largest to smallest and we click on OK. So this easily gives us our top 3 that we would like to see, that which song was the requested the most. So this is all about pivot tables. Again, you can do a lot of computations with pivots. Like I showed you, you can just, play around with things that you have. For example, let us just for fun add artists here. So artists went under the song, but it should be the other way, right? So let's try to do it in columns. And then in the month for that particular artist, which song is which one, it is telling us, right? So Shake It Off was referred thrice in January, so it looks like that. So, like I said, you can play around with it a lot. You can, keep changing things up. You can change the values that you get. You can make add filters. So over here, if you filter on, say, request ID number 4 only, so it will show you all. Okay, wait, number 3. So it will just show you for request ID number 3 what is going on. So like I said, there's a lot to play around with pivot tables. And again, the concept remains is what is the question you're trying to answer. Whether are you trying to calculate the sum of requests? Are you trying to see which is the most popular artist? Are you trying to see which song is the most popular? So these are the questions that will help you identify which value, which column should be the rows value, which should be the columns value, which value is it, should you sort it on. So these kind of questions can only be answered when your question itself is clear, that what are we trying to find. Then Excel takes care of the rest, right? Now let's take a quick fun quiz, since I know I have talked a lot, almost an hour now, and you guys might be starting to get a little lethargic. I know I would. So let me just show you this meme that I brought for you, because I used to feel this way when we used to have COVID classes and COVID events. So what I would like you to do is eagerly attend. But yeah, even if you don't, it's completely fine. It's not nothing you are graded on or anything like that. This is just for fun and to just basically recapitulate some of the concepts that we have studied. So Ashi, take it away with the quiz. I will be here to help you with the solutions and maybe drop in some fun facts here and there.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Let me just stop sharing here.
Just a second. Okay, so I have sent the participation link in the chat box. Everyone can join from there. I'll just
All
share
right.
my screen.
Yeah, I saw you a question about the version I'm using. So I'm basically using Excel for Mac, and this is the 2019 version. So this is the desktop one, and there is an Outlook version, online version of it as well. So whatever one you use, it's completely fine. The functionalities are more or less similar. You can use same concepts on Google Sheets as well, but with a few tweaks here and there. So hopefully most of you will join the quiz, and let's have some fun. Don't, like I said, don't worry about it being graded or anything. Just have some fun. Go ahead and participate, and let's have some fun.
Okay, everyone can join the quiz using the code which is there on top of the screen.
I'm glad so many of you decided to eagerly play the quiz instead of eye rolling at me for one more Zoom quiz. But yeah, I see so many of you. Happy to see that.
Yeah, we'll wait for like a minute or something so that everyone can join in.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
In case the link doesn't work, you all can go to menti.com and use the code on the screen to join. But I think the link is working. Okay, I think we can start. Yeah. We have 184 people. So,
Yeah, so easiest question. What is the best way to dedupe your playlist in Excel? Go ahead, mark in your answers. Let's see how many of you get it right. Pretty fast. This is like playing KBC, I think. Yeah, it's correct. Reuse, remove duplicates. So dedupe is basically like I can say the corporate lingo or the fun way of saying delete duplicates. So yeah, it is to remove duplicates and not to open Spotify. Yes. Next question, please, Ashi.
okay, we have a leaderboard also here.
Oh wow, all right. All right, pretty cool.
Okay, so the next question.
This one I am expecting all of you will get it right. Let's see. Oh wow, that's an impressive number. I was expecting it to be lower, but good job, everyone. So let me just quickly take you through why it can't be the other three options. So one, to do VLOOKUP, you need to know what you're looking for. So that is why finding your friend at a concert is the easiest example that you can think of. And the factor here is that you know who your friend is, so it'll be easy to look for them. So time traveling like Doctor Strange, that can definitely not be the answer. And the other two, although very interesting answers, that cleaning your room is like VLOOKUP, that can be more of a data cleaning angle, I would feel. But yeah, finding your friend at a concert and googling for the answer. Google is again in a widespread of internet. You're trying to find one thing, but similar. But again, you don't know your data set, so that is why the concert one is the most closest analogy here. Wow, the leaderboard has changed, is it?
I think so, yeah.
All right, good job, guys. This again, I feel like I have spent enough time on pivots that most of you will get it right. Let's see. I mean, one option though, mostly in every question is just for fun. So you only have to answer within three. Yeah, awesome. Summarizing data, is it? Ooh, lot of restructuring in this leaderboard happening now. Although I didn't cover this, but I feel like trim function is something most of us will know what it does. So let's see the answers. I know this was a confusing one, but yes, getting rid of white space is the correct answer. Useless data is again on the analyst or the scientist. You have to decide what data is useful and what data isn't. So good job. Himanshu in the lead for a while now. Buckle up, guys. I think this one as well, this is a very, very common idea. I think you guys, all of you should be able to answer this since most of us use YouTube so much. So KPI here, for the ones who don't know, KPI is key performance indicators, and basically the most important factor for YouTubers. To put it simply, what would you think is it? All of the above. Correct. Again, happy to see most of you got it right. Himanshu has been dethroned, I can see. Another simple one, guys. I think most of you should get it right. This was, I expected full responses. This was just a bait in a sea of questions, guys. Still, most of you got it right. Happy to see that. This again, I think, cover in the session, but I hope most of you will be able to get that. If not, it's completely fine. We'll take a look at this after the quiz is over. Nice. So it is actually, it will give you an NA error since the value will not be found. So not a number error is the one that you'll get. NA and NAN. The NAN is not really common in Excel, but yeah. So it will not automatically fill values for you. You will have to do that. Awesome. Again, very simple one. We use this as well. Nice. I hope at least the ones who are doing the quiz are getting that much needed break time. Yeah, this is again a very similar, simple math calculation, but yeah, this is something that we discussed during the data cleaning part of our session. Growth rate, customer retention, profits, and all of that. How do we calculate? So let's see how many of you get it right. Correct. A few of you got it. The absolute one would be because we are trying to find a percentage, right? So that is where we use the ABS function. But yes, most of you were right about the mathematical one. So you deserve that one as well. So yeah. Last 5 questions, guys. Let's go. This should also be a very simple one. We just covered it. I expect most of you to get it right. Still a good high number. I'm glad. So the ones who did VLOOKUP, guys, go through pivot tables once again. I'll quickly summarize it in the end as well for you. But yeah, this will not be VLOOKUP as it just helps you find one value and not summarize data. Right? All right. I'm also liking all these different names also. Someone's a number. Why are you just a number? At least what does the number mean? 20050. Interesting choice. Again, a very simple one. Hopefully, this time I expect a better number than the last one. All right. Does not highlight, but removes the duplicates. So just a tip for those 11 who did that. Try it out yourself. I think it will become clearer then. Again, a little confusing, but pretty straightforward answer. So let's see how many of you get it right. I like how most of you are just answering quickly in the first 3-4 seconds. That means something went right in the session, hopefully. Let's see the results. Yeah, VLOOKUP it is. So this is the correct use case for VLOOKUP here and not pivot tables. And the other two are just usual functions. So they're not really a tool or thing that you use to find something. Right. Maybe last few questions. I see the close fight as well. Whoever's participating, the first, I think 10 that I can see here, 10, 12, very, very close. Again, a somewhat repeated question, but I feel like most of you should know this. And all the four options that you see are basically errors you usually get whenever a formula is incorrect in Excel. So one is a value error, one is just a simple formula error, one is a division error, and one is a NA, not found error. Correct, 136. So most of you got it right. Happy to see that. This is again a very general function that we mostly use, but let's see how many of you can use this and or have used this before. Again, don't beat yourself up if you don't get this one right. We didn't cover this in the session, but yeah, I had to put it just to spark a little bit of your curiosity in Excel. Correct, correct. Not bad, not bad. Most of you got it right, better than my expectations, so good job. And I think we're on the last question now after the leaderboard. Last question. So by outliers, we mean anything uncommon, anomaly that does not belong there. What do we do? Maybe duplicates, could be anything. How do we do that in Excel? So outlier is basically the formal term of whatever data that doesn't fall in sync with the data that we have. So conditional formatting, again, I can share my screen and we'll discuss it a little bit, but what it really does is that if you say have a set of data and you put conditions in it, it will easily color code things for you or, find out things that don't really go with the flow of data. By flow of data, I mean that say for in one column, we have values that are the profits, and then suddenly we have a text. So that text obviously does not belong in that column, and that is hence an outlier. So conditional formatting is used in a way to identify this easily in a big data set. So I think that brings us to the end of the quiz. Let's see the top few of you. Lot of reshuffling in this leaderboard throughout. So I see Aditi, great job. Andy, the person with the number, good job. Vanshika, I see a Wolfmeister, good job. All of you, again, like I said, this is not a marks-based test or anything like that. This was just to have some fun, recapitulate some of the things we did in our session, and basically, yeah, just have a break from just me talking and you listening. So again, I think we're a little over time, I believe, right, Ashi? But I'll take another 5 minutes, walk you through the problem statement of the case study that I have prepared for you guys. So that will actually help you approach the problem easier, I hope. And then maybe in the end, we can take some questions, if that's okay. All right, let me just quickly share back my screen. I hope it's visible. If someone could quickly drop it in the chat.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right, all right. Let me just put it in slideshow. So yeah, we did the quiz. Thank you to all of you who participated. I am really, really overjoyed with all your enthusiasm, even though it's an online event. I have seen events where, people are very, very, very tired of doing these on the screens, and it's so much better in person. But thank you for making me feel like you guys are participating and are enjoying the session. So thank you for that. Now let's go to the case study. So this case study, I believe you will be provided the data set that I have created and the same problem in a text document that you will have to basically try to do in your free time, or I think by next weekend is the thing that I heard. So the whole point of this case study is not to evaluate you or make you work really hard, but just to put whatever you learned in this session into a practice so that it's a very small one. It won't take much time. Max, it's gonna take you an hour. And what my intention of giving this to you is that I just want you to once sit with the data, implement everything that we did today, and just be, very, very solid in your concepts of whatever we studied today. So this will help you in a way that you will have that confidence that, yeah, if you throw any data at me, I can do the pivot tables, I can do the VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, I can clean the data, I can, create new columns, generate primary keys, fix the text, remove duplicates, all of that. That is what I want you all to have at the end of this session as a takeaway, is that I want you to be confident that Excel is not a old people's tool or it's very complex. I want you to have that confidence. Yeah, give me any data. I can look at it in Excel. I can do basic things. I can calculate. I can, even make a pivot for you. So that is what I would like you to have at the end of this case study. And like I said, it will take max 1 hour, but take as long as you like. I have no restrictions on time when we're trying to learn something new. So let me just quickly take you through it while you enjoy my cute pizza meme that I specifically found for this problem. So imagine that you are running a pizza company or a pizza delivery service. Let's call it Turbo Pizza. So I'm a little old, so I when I used to play games, we used to have these really really old mini clip and those type of games. And Turbo Pizza used to be my favorite one. I used to have my brother pirate it for me, and then we used to play it like day and night, literally. So that is why that's what I decided to call this case study, Turbo Pizza Limited. I wish I was the CEO, but anyways, let's come back to the case study. So yeah, you imagine yourselves to be the CEOs of Turbo Pizza, and your CFO, which is the financial officer of your company, he comes and dumps a big Excel on you that, yeah, this is the customer orders for the last year. Now you have to give me some answers because I don't know how to do it, even though he's the financial officer. So you have to first clean to the data, remove duplicates, do again, this is not very restricted to the fact that what you might think needs cleaning, I might not think the same. So you will have to go ahead and do this. And let me just clear these annotations. Guys, give me 5 minutes. I know it's been a long, long session so far, and you've been an amazing audience. So let me just quickly walk you through this, and then you can, get ahead with this whenever you have time. So yeah, you have to do the tracking the key metrics. For this, you can use Google, check out the formulas, use it on the right columns, and then do the needful. Similarly, use VLOOKUP to match pizza types to their prices. And finally, create a pivot of the following two criteria that is listed there. So that is the case study challenge for you all. And that brings me to the end of my session. I am really, really happy that you guys bore with me for so long. I hope most of you didn't get bored by what I was trying to do. Just a moment. What is this? Right, let me just quickly stop sharing and come back. Yeah, now it just looks fine suddenly. Let me reshare. Yeah. So again, I would formally like to thank all of you for being so patient, for learning with me, and for being such a great audience, doing the quizzes and replying wherever I ask for input. Uh, Oppose this session, if you guys want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. The deck will be shared with you. And I also do mentoring and career guidance sessions. So I will be sharing my top mate in the chat, and let me know if you guys want to connect with me. Would be happy to, clarify doubts, answer questions about jobs, careers, basically anything and everything in the world. So let me just drop my top mate link in the chat and my LinkedIn as well. Just allow me a moment. And yeah, just would like to stay in touch with all of you, see what you learn, grow, and do in the future. So please do add me. Would be really, really happy to connect with all of you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ashi.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a great session. It was an honor to have you for our boot camp.
Thank you
And
so much.
I had a great time. I hope the participants, the 217 people who stayed back, they
Yeah.
also had a great time. I hope so.
Yeah.
So,
Happy to hear that. One last request, if some of you could turn on your cameras, I would like to take a quick picture just for my memory and just to keep it with me, if that's okay. Let's see. Okay. How do I see all of you? Let me fix my view. Okay, gallery. Oh wow, thank you. Thank you so much. All of you who are turning on your cameras, let's just give it 30 more seconds maybe, and then I'll say cheese, or should I say Excel? I don't know. And I see most of you are wearing a lot of woolens. Where are you guys based out of right now? Is it very cold where you are? Just give me a nod. Nice. All right, I will quickly take a picture. Three, two, one, Excel.
Excel.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks. Yes, CSV. Yeah, even that works. That works too. Thank you all. And like I said, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. All the study material will be shared with you. And I hope you have fun doing the case study. And if you ever need a mentor or a guide or have any questions about your career, feel free to find me on TopMate. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you to all the participants as well. We look forward to looking at all of your responses for the assignment that ma'am has just given. And we request you to stay tuned for all the upcoming sessions for Data Dive. So, yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience, one of the best audience I've had in so far in a very long time. Thank you all. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful session.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good
Bye,
evening.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.